Hey friends, coming at you from my attic. I've got this handy tool here. It's the V4K, and it allows me to, it's a camera that points down so you can see what I'm drawing. We're gonna be taking a look at how to use Conte working on your mid-tone paper. So let's get the, oops. Got my cords all tangled up. Go to zoom out a bit. I'm also wearing gloves. Not that you have to, you're always more than welcome to. Had a bit of an accident yesterday, trail running, and my hands are pretty scraped up. So just to kind of protect them, got the gloves on, in case you were wondering. Okay, so we got our mid-tone paper here, and it's really hard to see, but I've taken a pencil and just really lightly drawn a circle. And that's gonna function as my sphere. And I'm using this example to show you guys how this works. The circle's kind of right here. The reason why I went lightly is graphite really gets into the paper. And we don't want too much graphite into the paper because we want our Conte to sit in the paper. So if you've got a lot of graphite on your portrait, which I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna work on a portrait in a minute here, but I just kind of wanted to show you the basics. You're gonna wanna take your eraser, whether it's this one or I know yours is black, or a kneaded eraser if we can get them, and just kind of pick off some of that graphite. It's going to be a little bit more important when we actually start working on the portrait. My imaginary light source, I'm going to have it coming from this side here. So my paper is functioning as literally my mid-tone in the drawing. Oh yeah, when you get the Conte, it might look like, it might be kind of a longer piece like that or even longer. Don't be afraid to break it. There is a bit of a shiny surface to it. So you might have to kind of rub it on the surface of your page to knock that shiny surface down. I personally like working with like really small pieces and working with them on their side. So you guys can see I'm not going too hard, too dark there. Let me adjust this exposure. There, you might be able to see more what I'm doing there. So this is kind of the dark half of the sphere I'm articulating. Another tool that you all have is this chamois cloth. And if you're so inclined, you can use this to kind of soften some of the areas. I know some of you are more smudgy than others. I'm personally not a big smudger, as I've said before in class, but you know, the tools exist, so why not use them? We've got a light area hitting the sphere over here. We don't necessarily want our white and our black Conte to be touching too much because number one, the paper's functioning is literally that middle tone. And number two, if you start getting, I'll show you off to the side here, it kind of starts to form this like weird kind of gray tone that is not the greatest. Your drawing will be referred to as being a little bit muddy. So you want to try and avoid this kind of thing, putting too much of the media into the page. Really, this is really all the media you need. One thing I'm missing though is cast shadow, which is really handy for compositions like this. Just gonna rub it down here. There we go. Have kind of a darker area. And then if I wanted to get really fancy, I could kind of come back and just like, I'm kind of using the end of this Conte here. Kind of sharpen it up. Oops. You guys might remember I was talking a little bit about background when we were doing the still life. And if you're a smoothie, this is what it looks like when you start rubbing some of that in. All right, so that's sort of the basics of Conte on a mid-tone page. We're gonna get working on the portrait proper here. Listen, that's actually really hard to see. Let me try adjusting the exposure a little bit. Well, guys will just have to take my word for it. I know you can see the eyes because I really worked on those, because I don't know if you all remember from class, I had mentioned that I really struggle with making eyes too large. I'm working from a photograph, but you all obviously are working from mirrors. Got my son from a couple years ago. This is his old passport photo. And what I've done is I've just kind of laid out the main points of the face. Let me shift it around so you can see them. Using the same formula that we were using to do the graphite portraits already, I've gotten quite a lot of graphite on the eyes. So what I'm gonna do is take my eraser and just kind of knock some of that off, because like I said, you're gonna have a hard time getting a lot of content onto the page if you've got a whole bunch of graphite sitting in the way. This central line that I put on the head to kind of demarcate where the eyes go, the nose and everything, all the features, I'm gonna take that away a little bit, because we don't want to see too many graphite traces when we're done. We want this to be a nice Conte drawing. All right, I am gonna start actually with the darks. And you can also feel free to have a scrap piece of paper on the side. I've just got like a white piece of paper over here. There should be some newsprint to kind of test your material out before you apply it to the page. And observing this photograph, there's some real dark areas that I want to get to first. So we got his eyes that we're getting in. Not doing too much outlining, but there is, you know, if you guys remember from the graphite, there is a fair bit of outlining at this stage that's going to happen, a fair bit of reliance on line. You guys, that's pretty light. Like that's definitely not as dark as this media can go. And you'll also probably be noticing at this stage that the paper has a texture to it. That's fine. It's a good quality chalk paper, and most of them do have a bit of a texture. All right, nose. You're welcome to start with the lights if you like. This is just the way I personally like to work. Outlining the nose here. And as I work, I'm exaggerating some of those lights and those darks. I know a few of you were really struggling to get those darks in your portraits. So don't be afraid to, like I said, exaggerate where some of those dark areas are. I feel like Bob Ross right now, but I guess you could do a lot worse than Bob Ross, right? All right, I think I'm just gonna focus on the eyes so I'm not taking too long, and so you can see the application of the white in there. Those are looking a little spooky right now, but bear with me, please. And you know, the thing about the whites of eyes, and I said this to a few of you, is they're called the whites of your eyes, right? So we tend to think that they're pretty bright white, but there's actually often like a bit of a shadow to them. Shadow created by our eyelid, and especially in the case of this guy's named Alistair, especially in Alistair's case, he's got the lighting, there's a real shadow over his eyes. Okay, so got the whites in there. We're gonna come back. His eyes aren't, he actually has blue eyes, but the way the photograph is, they're really dark. The reading is really dark. He had a tantrum right before this picture was taken, I remember. It was pretty intense. So this is the after tantrum face that we're observing here. So that one's at a pretty good stage. And of course, you would be working this drawing much more holistically. You'd be working on different parts of it as you go. Like I said, I kind of am fast forwarding to the eyes because I wanted to show you how to get that white in there. Another thing that I really want to emphasize with this white is adding that highlight onto the eye. You guys remember when we were doing the graphites, I had a lot of you giving a highlight on the eye. Okay, so from here, I'm going to get in that shadow on the bridge of the nose. I might move on down to the lips. This is just like a super quick sketch I did before I picked up my Conte, but feel free to spend as much time as you need on your sketch, because the more solid your lines and your features are, the easier it's going to be and the more the drawing's going to look like you, or the subject, I guess, the subject being you. He's looking a little old, but bear with me. We just got the shadow in for the most part here. Okay, emphasizing his jawline. You may be kind of questioning some of my proportions here. We have to remember too that the handout that I gave you all in class and the one that's on Canvas, the PDF, is referring to adult face proportions. Children have different facial proportions than adults do. So Alistair's face is he still has his little baby face in this picture here. And this is just the suggestion of where his hair is. We're going to come back to that in a bit here. All right, that looks like a pretty good start. I'm not even going to touch the hair anymore. I feel like his face is a little off. And you know, if you're to make a mistake, the eraser can take off a pretty good amount of the Conte, but it can only take off so much, right? You guys see that? Kneaded erasers are much more useful for blending. But the black erasers that you all have those are actually really good erasers. They're pretty strong erasers. And you guys notice I'm not using too much outline to articulate the shape of the face. It's kind of that shadow behind it that I'm creating. Okay, you all see that? And I had the marks of his neck. Where'd they go? Where is that neck? I know there's one over here. I think the other one was, oops, who's in this picture here? Constantly observing, right? There. Kind of a creepy start. That is okay. I'm not loving this nose. There's something going on with it. I think it's a bit on the wide side. And you may be noticing as you work that it is a little bit more difficult to get that real fine detail with this media, but that's okay. This isn't a super fine detail oriented media. This Conte and charcoal are similar. Conte's just got a little bit of clay in the base, so oftentimes you'll hear people say that it's a little bit more greasy than charcoal, which is true. But the way they work is really similar. They're loose media that like I said, aren't made for super detailed work. They're really good for catching things like light and shadow. You guys may be noticing I'm really working towards building up tones here. Gonna get at these lips and then the shadows around them, and then I'm gonna come in with that white. That's my plan. All right, where did my white go? White right here. So I'm gonna pick up the light areas on the face. Starting to have the illusion of volume. Again, don't lose that mid-tone. Don't lose the color of the page. We got this particular paper for a reason, and yours might be a slight different color. But basically, mid-tone is anything that functions as a middle neutral tone. So usually grays, browns, you can have a blue mid-tone, you can have a slightly red like a brown red mid-tone page. They're all good. This one's a little on the dark side, so that's why the white's looking so stark. Real shadow down there. Okay, lips, I'm actually going to go back to this dark. Don't want to go too dark because I'm sure some of you discovered with the graphite, if you go too dark in the lips, it can look a little lipsticky. Okay, from here I'm gonna move it along and get going on some of that hair, and then I'll have more or less all my points plotted in, and then it's from there that I can really start to build up some of these tones, hair and ear, of course. So it's hard to see, but I have done like we did in class with the graphite, and I've rendered in Alistair's hair kind of like a mass, right? Treated it like a mass. I'm crossing my eyes actually, and I'm observing the dark areas. Alistair's got lighter hair, so I'm not gonna go too dark, but there are some areas that are more in shadow, like particularly over here. And I'm not gonna worry about too much highlight on those. His ear is looking a little funny, but we can come back to that. His hair gets kind of dark down in here. And then over here. And then at the top of his head, there's kind of a darker area. And you guys notice I'm not keeping any of my lines the same length. They're all varied, and that's gonna give a real like naturalistic look to the hair. Okay. Okay, I'm actually not gonna go any further with that black because I really wanna come in. I don't wanna lose, I don't wanna go too dark, right? So I'm gonna come in and just pick up those highlights in the front. Okay, and then from here, it's just a matter of going back and kind of fine tuning some of those areas that you were working on before. Definitely there's a lot of room to go darker in and around the eyes. You guys see how that changed just when I did that. And this one may look a little strange just because of the cast shadow on the eyes, but your self-portraits, you're not really going to have any of that business, just because we're working under fairly even lighting conditions. I'm not loving this white area here. I think it's a little on the light side. Just gonna pick it off. All right, I'm not gonna, obviously there's much more room to work on this, but it was really just a demo is what I wanted to present to all of you. Okay, and I hope that covers it. Of course, there's a lot of observation that goes into these types of drawings that I hope you'll take the time in class to work on. Let me just switch cameras here. So hopefully that covers it. And I'll be, I guess, as far as the assignment goes, let's take a look at that. Just share my screen with you here. Okay, so sharing my screen, we are looking at the Canvas site. So the mid-tone paper portrait is this assignment that we're working on. Basically pretty self-explanatory. Draw yourself on mid-tone paper using black and white Conte sticks, self-portrait from observation. And then for submission, it's a file upload to Canvas. So you just go into the assignments, upload it. Do yourself a favor, take the best photograph you can. It doesn't have to be a fancy camera per se, but just in some natural light. And you don't want to have like your buddy's hands holding up the drawing or anything. Feel free to crop it or do any kind of minor photo editing you need to do, maybe make it brighter, just to best represent your work. And then for critique, we have kind of already started with the graphite self-portraits, but it's in the portraiture and anatomy module. The mid-tone paper critique, you want to further post your drawing to the mid-tone paper critique, and your classmates are going to come in and give you their comments. So make sure that you've got your mid-tone portrait up by September 29th at midnight. Please embed the image. If you're having trouble, there's a guide to help you here. It's just the easiest to have the image right there when folks click on the discussion. And then make sure that you comment on at least 2 others' postings by Thursday, October 1st at midnight. I'll be getting in there and commenting and whatnot. All right, if you have any questions, please let me know. Shoot me an email or come to those office hours that I was talking about on Wednesdays from 1:30 to 2:30. The link is in the announcements. Let me pull it up here that I had sent out previously. Yeah, so we got the link at the bottom of the latest announcement for my Zoom office hours. So if you need to see a face, that's where you find me, or just shoot me an email and we can schedule something up at your convenience. Okay, hope you enjoyed the demonstration and happy drawing. Good luck.